I was trying to catch up on sleep during the flight when a flight attendant nudged me awake. Ma'am, I noticed you didn't order a meal. Are you feeling unwell? I shook my head. Just tired. I'm going to sleep. No meal for me, thanks. But 10 minutes later, the same flight attendant woke me up again. Are you sure? We have a wide variety of meal options. I waved her off, my patience thinning. Please, I really need to sleep. No food. I finally drifted off again, sinking into that sweet haze of sleep, only to be yanked back by the same concerned eyes hovering over me. Ma'am, if you're not eating, could you please fill out the survey? She said, her voice bright and cheery. It helps us improve our service. And please don't just check the boxes. Written feedback is so valuable. I was beyond exhausted. I'd pulled an all-nighter to finish a project for a demanding client who kept changing their mind, asking for the impossible, like Technicolor black. After a caffeine-fueled marathon, I'd finally delivered something they liked. Now, all I wanted was to crash on this 3-hour flight. I'd even planned ahead to avoid interruptions. While waiting at the gate, I'd made a bright yellow sticky note with bold red letters. Please do not wake me for meal service. Thank you. I stuck it on the seat back in front of me, hoping it would be my ticket to uninterrupted rest. Normally, I wouldn't go to such lengths, but being jolted out of desperately needed sleep is pure torture. With my tray table down and seatbelt buckled, the plane's hum was my lullaby, pulling me toward dreamland. But before I could even settle in, a gentle touch on my arm dragged me back to reality. A soft voice whispered, "Ma'am, what would you like for your meal?" I pointed wearily at the note. The voice didn't stop. In fact, it got louder. "We have beef with broccoli or chicken teriyaki. Which would you like?" "Ma'am?" "Ma'am," she pressed. I forced my eyes open, exhaustion weighing me down. "No, thank you. I'm not eating," I said, trying to stay polite. I reminded myself she was just doing her job. One worker shouldn't make life harder for another. It's a rule I live by. I nestled back against the headrest, praying for sleep. But seconds later, her voice returned. "Are you sure, ma'am?" she insisted. "These meals get amazing reviews online. Influencers love them. Was this meal some kind of gourmet masterpiece? Was skipping it a crime against humanity?" "I'm not hungry," I said, my voice tight. "I just want to sleep. Please don't ask again." I pointed to the note, popped in my earbuds, and hoped that would be the end of it. But no. The flight attendant knelt beside me, her voice now loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "It's okay, ma'am. The meal is included with your ticket, so you don't need to worry about the cost." That was it. I was wide awake now, frustration boiling over. "I told you I want to sleep," I snapped, keeping my voice low but sharp. "I told you not to wake me. Why do you keep hovering and asking the same question? And why bring up money? With persistence like that, you should be writing viral soap opera scripts. You'd get 1 billion views in a day." "Please, just go," I said, pressing my hands together in a desperate plea before turning away and closing my eyes, determined to salvage what little flight time remained. But a moment later, she stood up, her voice trembling with emotion. "Ma'am, are you feeling okay?" "I'm so sorry. I was just trying to show I care." "Ma'am? Ma'am? I wasn't a ma'am. I was a punching bag, a corporate drone chained to my job, and now, apparently, a zoo animal for everyone to stare at. I opened my eyes, exhaustion clouding my vision, and felt the weight of judgmental glares from every direction. The other passengers weren't just watching, they were whispering, and it wasn't kind. "Give the poor flight attendant a break. Her job's tough," one voice muttered. "Why's she so rude? So aggressive?" Another chimed in. "Maybe she's just jealous the flight attendant's prettier and wants to make trouble," someone else sneered. I rubbed my aching neck and took a deep breath, ignoring the teary-eyed flight attendant still hovering nearby. Instead, I fixed my gaze on the loudest couple, staring them down without a word. If they wanted to keep talking, they could deal with the awkwardness of having the aggressive passenger and the hardworking flight attendant stuck in this standoff. It was a trick I'd learned from my boss, pressure transfer, he called it. And it worked like magic. The couple exchanged a nervous glance, then quickly looked away, silenced. The other passengers, sensing the shift, turned their attention to the couple too. With the nosy crowd handled, I turned to the flight attendant. Her red-rimmed eyes blinked at me, the picture of wounded innocence, like I was a villain and she was a helpless victim. Realizing I wasn't backing down, she spoke, her voice dripping with misery. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I was just trying to give you the best service, she said, sniffling. I'm still on probation. Please don't file a complaint. I promise I'll be more careful. An apology was enough. I wasn't heartless, just exhausted. It's fine, I said, softening slightly. I won't report you. We're all just trying to get through the day. But please, I added, my voice firm, don't wake me up again for meals, surveys, anything until we land. Thank you. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, I wasn't about to let it happen again. I watched her walk to the other end of the plane before letting my head sink back into the seat. The interruption was over. If I didn't sleep now, I'd be a zombie in my afternoon meeting, and all my hard work on that Technicolor Black project, not to mention my commission, would go down the drain. Sleep, though, is a fickle thing once it's broken. After minutes of deep breathing and counting sheep, I finally felt it creeping back. Just as a soft haze settled over me, a sharp sting on my arm snapped me awake. I gasped, blinking at the corner of a piece of printer paper now sitting on my tray table. The flight attendant was back, holding out a pen with an earnest smile. Ma'am, if you're not eating, could you please fill out the survey and explain why? She asked, her voice impossibly cheerful. I stared at the fresh red line on my arm where the paper had grazed me, then at the densely printed questionnaire on my tray table. The cabin felt like an oven, and sweat made the paper cut sting even more. Anger surged inside me, tying my tongue in knots. As I struggled to find words, the flight attendant leaned in, her voice slow and deliberate, like she was teaching a child. Please don't just check the multiple choice boxes, she said. Be sure to write detailed comments in the space provided. It helps us improve our service for next time. My brain short-circuited. All I wanted was to sleep. Why was she so determined to keep waking me? If I were in an emergency exit row, I'd stay awake and do my duty. But I was just a regular passenger. No meal, no survey. That's it. Her smile widened, but a flicker of impatience flashed in her eyes. Ma'am, is there a problem? Do you need help with the form? She asked, her tone dripping with condescension. We can provide it in English if you prefer. Before I could process the insult, she leaned closer and started translating, her accent flawless. Dear passenger, thank you for your cooperation. On any other day, I might have been impressed. But right now, my patience was gone. You want feedback? Here's your feedback. I grabbed the pen and slashed a giant, angry X across the questionnaire, pressing so hard it tore the paper. She froze, her perfect English cut off mid-sentence, her mouth hanging open. Before she could recover, I pulled out my phone and snapped a quick photo of the ruined survey and her shocked face. Forget what I said about not complaining. The second this business trip was over, I was filing a report. I'd flown hundreds of times and never dealt with anyone this relentless. You can go now, I said, my voice ice cold. Save yourself the trouble of struggling through English with me. And don't bother with your internal review. I'm never flying this airline again. I crumpled the survey into a ball and stuffed it into the waste bag, ignoring her frozen smile and the way it slowly cracked. Ma'am, I'm truly sorry, she said, her voice trembling. Please don't let my mistake affect the whole crew's performance review. You can do whatever you want to me, but my colleagues are innocent. Adults should handle their emotions maturely, not. Tears welled in her eyes, but she held them back, her voice a mix of self-righteousness and victimhood. The waste bag in my hand was now a mangled lump. Wait, when did I say anything about reporting the entire crew? Was I some kind of cartoon villain dishing out group punishment? I took a deep breath. With someone this dramatic, arguing was pointless. Ignoring her was my best bet. I pulled out my laptop, sleep was clearly a lost cause, and started reviewing my presentation. The next second, a stream of scalding coffee flooded my keyboard. I lunged for my bag to grab tissues, but before I could, a heavy coffee pot loomed over my arm, blocking my path. I'm so sorry, she gasped. I was just trying to pour you a coffee to apologize. I'm so sorry, the flight attendant gasped, clutching the coffee pot like it was her lifeline. I was just trying to pour you a coffee to apologize. Please don't be angry. I'll get you a fresh cup right away. And please don't report our crew. Her voice buzzed in my ears like a persistent mosquito. I lifted my head, exhausted, and stared at her. She stood there, eyes downcast, looking like a scolded child. A stack of napkins sat on her cart, but she seemed oblivious to them. Could you move your arm so I can grab some tissues to clean my laptop? I asked, my voice flat with defeat. All I cared about was saving my keyboard. The sticky coffee had dried on my clothes, leaving me a mess, but I managed to wipe the laptop mostly clean. It was my lifeline for the meeting ahead. I slumped back in my seat and checked the time on my screen. 90 minutes until landing. A nap was impossible now. I decided to head to the restroom to wash my face and pull myself together. I unbuckled my seatbelt and stood up, only to be met with a torrent of coffee pouring over my head. Drip, drip, drip. It soaked my hair, my shirt, my bra, everything. I froze, transformed into a dripping, coffee-soaked monster. What the hell? I muttered, stunned. The sticky, wet sensation, combined with the thought of my tight schedule, snapped something inside me. Exhaustion gave way to pure rage. I squeezed coffee from my hair and shot the flight attendant a death glare. Before I could say anything, she set down the pot and fixed me with a look of cold disapproval. "Ma'am, I've already apologized," she said, her tone sharp. "You can be upset, but this is a public space. Please watch your language." I blinked, dumbfounded. Were we even speaking the same language anymore? Remembering the photos on my phone, I swallowed my anger and carefully maneuvered out of my seat to avoid spreading coffee everywhere. In the restroom, I splashed cold water on my face, which helped a little. My plan was clear. Grab my checked bag at the airport, change in a restroom, and send my clothes to the hotel's laundry service. For my hair, maybe I could find a salon near the client's office for a quick wash. I dried off as best I could and pushed open the restroom door, only to be greeted by two eager faces. "Hello, ma'am. I'm the purser for this flight," the older woman said, her smile wide and overly friendly. "There's something I'd like to discuss." Staring at the purser's beaming face, I felt a flicker of hope. Finally, someone in charge to fix this disaster. The flight attendant had mentioned she was on probation, so it made sense her supervisor would step in to clean up the mess. Having navigated corporate chaos myself, I softened slightly. "Go ahead," I said. "We're terribly sorry about what happened today," she began, her tone warm but calculated. "We feel awful for the trouble. But you're a young woman. You must understand that new staff sometimes make mistakes in tricky situations." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "So, how about we both take a step back? We won't report your disruptive behavior, and you don't file a complaint against our crew member. Honestly, there's blame on both sides. Better to let it go. Don't you think?" Her sincerity felt like a trap. All I could see was a giant bucket of blame about to be dumped on me. Everything that happened, waking me up repeatedly, spilling coffee on me and my laptop twice, was your employee's fault, I said, keeping my voice calm but firm. "There's no both sides here, and I'm not taking a step back. Whether I file a complaint is my choice, and you can't guilt me into dropping it. Now, please move." I'm going back to my seat. I brushed past them, trailing the faint smell of stale coffee. I used to think a 3-hour flight was short. Now, it felt like a lifetime. All I wanted was to teleport to my hotel. Stay calm, Anna. Stay calm. The second the plane landed, I was on my feet, practically sprinting for the exit. My client meeting was at 4 p.m., and it was already 1:30 p.m. I'd hoped to tough out the coffee stains until I reached the hotel, but I couldn't stand it any longer. Get the bag, get the bag, get the bag. At the baggage claim, I stood by the carousel, craning my neck, my eyes scanning frantically. The sticky, damp discomfort and the pressure of the upcoming meeting had me on edge. One by one, passengers grabbed their luggage until only a sad, lonely teddy bear circled in a basket. My suitcase was gone. I checked the display board. My flight number was right there in bold letters. Lost luggage? Today of all days? I rushed toward the information desk, heart pounding. As I rounded a corner, a familiar, lilting laugh stopped me cold. "Oh, please," the voice chirped. "When she comes asking, just say we can't find her bag. It happens all the time. Or tell her there was an issue with a prohibited item during transfer. Make something up. It's not like we're keeping it forever, just delaying it a bit. Serves her right for being so uptight. She has zero chill." I froze, my blood boiling. The flight attendant from the plane, arm linked with the purser, hadn't noticed me. She was whining playfully to her companion, oblivious to my presence. "You have no idea how nasty she was, cousin," she pouted. "I just wanted her to eat something, and she glared at me like I'd stolen her soul. The angrier she got, the more I wanted to mess with her. The world doesn't revolve around her, you know." Her smug laughter echoed through the terminal. I clenched my fists, ready to storm over, when my phone buzzed. A call from my boss. Anna, the flight tracker says you've landed, he said. What's your ETA to the client's office? They moved the meeting up for an urgent project launch. My hand trembled as I gripped the phone. The polished marble floor seemed to tilt beneath me. Anna, he continued, his tone sharper, you know how hard we worked for this client. If we mess this up, we might not get another in-person meeting for months. A video call won't cut it. We're on the 1-yard line, push it through. Take a cab if traffic's clear, the subway if it's not. Just get there fast. He paused, softening slightly. You've got this, Anna. You always deliver the kind of client experience we're known for. Don't waste time. I tightened my grip on my backpack, knuckles white. He was right. I'd poured countless sleepless nights into this project. I wasn't about to let a vindictive flight attendant and her cousin ruin it. I'm on my way, I said, my voice steady. I'll get it done. Thank goodness for technology. In the cab, I ordered a new top and underwear online. By the time I reached the client's building and checked in, the delivery was waiting. I used wet wipes to tame my coffee-matted hair, twisting it into a sleek bun with a claw clip. My presentation was safe on my laptop, but even if it had drowned in coffee, I had backups on a USB drive and in the cloud. In the corporate world, you learn to come prepared for battle. The meeting went perfectly. Anna, this proposal is excellent, the client said, smiling. Follow up with our team to start the process. I'll have legal send the contract tonight. Relief washed over me, and I returned a genuine smile. The knot in my stomach finally unraveled. Now, it was time to show that flight attendant and her cousin that the world didn't revolve around them either. At my hotel, I took the most glorious shower of my life, washing away the coffee and stress. Wrapped in the clean scent of shower gel, I sat at the desk and compiled my evidence, flight number, ticket receipt, and the photos from the plane. I was about to send my carefully worded complaint when my phone lit up with notifications. Boss. Anna, what's going on? You're trending on social media. Best friend. OMG, babe, you have to see this. Colleague. Ethan, you're my hero. Mad respect. Confused, I clicked the link. A video loaded, and there I was, looking like a disaster on the plane, coffee staining my forehead, a crumpled napkin in my hand, carefully navigating back to my seat while the flight attendant hovered. The caption read, "Spotted a real-life cartoon character having the worst flight ever." There were 2 clips, both showing me getting doused in coffee. A comment asked, "Is XX Airlines serious with this?" The comment section was chaos. User 1. As a fellow corporate drone, this is my nightmare. If someone spilled coffee on my laptop mid-flight, I'd lose it. User 2. This feels staged. Flight attendants don't spill coffee twice like that. Probably a setup for clicks. User 3. Watching this space for updates. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. How had a random in-flight incident blown up like this? In hours, it had over 50,000 likes. Digging deeper, I spotted the hashtags. Hashtag airline hotties and hashtag sexy flight attendants. The uploaders' motives were sleazy, but the video was a gift, undeniable evidence for my complaint. As for being called a cartoon character, or what strangers thought of my appearance, I didn't care. They weren't signing my paychecks. I attached a read receipt to my complaint email and sent it to every relevant airline contact I could find. That night, I slept like a rock. The next morning, my phone rang, pulling me from a deep sleep. "We've located your missing luggage," a sing-song voice said. "Please come to the airport to retrieve it today. And just a friendly reminder, we won't hold it indefinitely." The snide tone was unmistakable. Perfect. This was exactly what I wanted. "Great," I replied, my voice sugary sweet. "I'll be there today. I'd love for you to hand it to me personally." I tucked the phone under my chin and poured fresh, hot coffee into a large thermos. "Treat me with respect, and I'll do the same." "Treat me with coffee? Well, you get what's coming." I arrived at the airport at noon, the sun blazing overhead. My coffee-stained outfit from yesterday, now freshly cleaned by the hotel, felt crisp and empowering. In the arrivals hall, the flight attendant was impossible to miss. She stood tall, casually sipping bubble tea, my suitcase tossed carelessly to the side. When she spotted me, she smirked and gestured with her chin for me to approach. "Ma'am, you should be more careful next time," she said, her voice dripping with mockery. "We might not be so helpful in the future." She took a loud slurp of her tea, her eyes gleaming with smug satisfaction. Her cousin, the purser, chimed in with a patronizing tone. Honestly, young women like you should relax more. Don't be so uptight and aggressive. We were just trying to help. Think of it as building good karma. I ignored them, calmly retrieving my suitcase and checking it thoroughly to ensure nothing was missing or damaged. Satisfied, I turned to a group of people in suits who had followed me into the hall, giving them a thumbs up. Everything's in order, I said clearly. The compensation we discussed this morning is acceptable. Please proceed with the other measures as agreed. I gestured toward the two women and addressed the suits in a steady voice. Gentlemen, you've now seen their behavior firsthand. They're not only incapable of basic in-flight service, but they also deliberately withheld my luggage and are now mocking me while lecturing about karma. If this happens again, I'll report your airline for promoting this kind of unprofessional nonsense. The flight attendant scoffed, unfazed. What's she even talking about? I don't understand her, she said to the purser. Come on, cousin, let's go. No need to waste time on this psycho. Cousin? The purser's face froze, sweat beading on her forehead. I could practically hear her teeth grinding. Shut up, she hissed at the flight attendant.
What?
Why? The flight attendant shot back, oblivious. You're dating the deputy manager. Even if these guys are from corporate, they can't touch us. She turned to the suits, raising her voice. Hey, do you know Manager Evans? I'm his girlfriend's cousin. He got me this job. Her face was a mask of arrogant defiance, completely unaware of the hole she was digging. I smiled and unscrewed the lid of my thermos. Time for a wake-up call. A perfect arc of steaming coffee sailed through the air, splashing directly onto her face. Ack, she sputtered, coughing as the liquid dripped from her hair. She stared at me, then at the silent suits, her eyes wide with confusion. Didn't you hear me? I'm Manager Evans's.
So loud.
I glanced at my thermos.
There was still a little coffee left.
I flicked my wrist, and the last of the coffee splashed into the flight attendant's open mouth. She gagged and sputtered, stunned. You better start speaking English, I said, my voice clear and sharp. This might be your last chance. These two were so clueless, banking on their local connections to shield them. What they didn't know was that I'd sent my complaint straight to the airline's international headquarters. The team in suits standing nearby had flown in from overseas, mobilized quickly thanks to my boss and our new client. Both our companies were major VIP accounts, exclusively using this airline for corporate travel. A joint complaint from clients of that caliber was a financial risk no Deputy Manager Evans could brush off. The flight attendant's face drained of color as reality hit. Forgetting the coffee dripping down her chin, she turned to me, eyes pleading. Please, this is my first job out of college. I was just being stupid. I didn't mean it. Ma'am, please, she begged. Can you withdraw the complaint? Yes, please, the purser added, her tooth-grinding days apparently over. Where's the harm in letting it go? I looked down, pretending to think it over. Then I met their gaze, my voice bright and firm.
No.
The flight attendant and her enabling cousin were both fired. Their debacle became a mandatory case study in the airline's new hire training, a textbook example of what not to do. As for me, after closing the deal with the client, my boss gave me a 3-day vacation.
I saw that video, he said.
Those dark circles under your eyes? I felt bad for you. Take a break, recharge, then come back and keep killing it. With his words and the airline's compensation in my bank account, I sighed happily and rolled around on the king-sized hotel bed. Life was good. Day 1 of my vacation was pure bliss, sleep, more sleep, and no alarms. As I switched off my phone, I couldn't help but laugh at the plane incident. Rushing to salvage my schedule, coffee-soaked and frazzled, I really did look like a cartoon character having the worst day ever. But pressure comes with every job, doesn't it? The airline's follow-up interview revealed the flight attendant's true motives. I graduated from a good university, she confessed. And I end up a glorified waitress in the sky? Why does she get to sit there while I serve her? It's not fair. I understood what she wanted. I just wanted to make her miserable. There were no words, but that wasn't my problem anymore. A good night's sleep was what mattered. The future held more battles to fight and more victories to win.
You got this, Anna.
Just as I sank into the hotel bed, my phone buzzed wildly. A call from my boss. Hey, Anna, sorry to bother you, he said. Any chance you can cut your vacation short? A new client's asking for you specifically to lead their project. I'll bump your commission by 5%. Anna, you there?
Yes.
I'm here, I said, snapping to attention. You can count on me. I'll grab a cab to the office now. I patted the pillow beside me. Sorry, buddy, I whispered. You'll have to sleep alone. Your big sister's back on the grind. Time flew. By year's end, I was a pro at business travel, living out of a suitcase with a foolproof in-flight sleep routine, inflatable neck pillow, self-heating eye mask, and straight to dreamland. The airline even rolled out a new app feature, letting passengers opt out of meal service in advance. Conflict, adjustment, progress. Things were moving forward. I slept soundly on my next flight and disembarked refreshed. But as I entered the arrivals hall, a familiar figure caught my eye. Please, I used to be a flight attendant on this route, a woman pleaded with airport security. My attendance was perfect, I swear. I just want my job back. Let me talk to a manager, just for a minute. Her desperate cries were hard to hear. I quietly asked a nearby airport official, "What's her story?" He frowned, clearly recalling the infamous training video. Former employee, fired for an incident. Now she's begging to come back. But I sighed. If only she'd known then what she knew now. I started toward the exit, but frantic footsteps stopped me. "It's you," the former flight attendant cried, grabbing my jacket. Her face was haggard, a far cry from the smug beauty I remembered. No sharp-edged papers or coffee pots this time, just raw desperation. "Please, ma'am, can you help me? Put in a good word?" I didn't mean it. I looked into her eyes. To err is human, to forgive divine. She'd apologized so many times. Maybe she deserved a second chance. "You really didn't mean it?" I asked evenly.
Yes.
"I'll change, I promise." "Then what's my name?" Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence, broken only by the faint grinding of her teeth, just like her cousin's. If she were truly sorry, she'd have remembered my name. I wasn't just ma'am to her, I was a person she deliberately targeted. "If you can't even remember my name," I said softly, "then I was just a nobody to you.
Move on.
Don't get stuck in the past." I turned and walked away, pulling my suitcase behind me. The past was done. The weather was perfect, the future was bright, and I had work to do.